on the programme tonight. Exemptions for Great Ormond Street amid serious strike concerns. Mitigations were granted following a request from the hospital insisting nurses working at the hospital would never ever leave patients at risk. Also, Muslims mark Eid festival with gathering in central London. Musicians, comedians and speakers too to take the stage in Trafalgar Square. And police still not learned enough from a lengthy of failures in Stephen Port case. Good evening. I'm Alistair Stewart. Exemptions for Great Ormond Street Hospital amid serious concerns about the strike impact. Great Ormond Street Hospital has been granted exemptions to ease the pressure on its service during the bank holiday nursing strike, a union leader has said after a stark warnings were issued over patient safety. The world-renowned Children's Hospital had expressed serious concerns about staffing as the Royal College of Nursing members prepared to walk out over a long-running pay dispute with the government. The RCN, which is holding a strike from 8 p.m. on Sunday until 11:59 on Monday evening, previously said it will not agree to derogations. Broad areas of case where unions agreed to provide staffing during industrial action, but union leader Pat Cullen said mitigations were granted on Friday following a request from Gosh insisting nurses working at the hospital would never ever leave child patients at risk. Ms. Cullen said any suggestion that mitigations were not being put in place were practically incorrect. She told BBC Radio 4's Today programme all of the exemptions that Great Ormond Street requested of the Royal College of Nursing were granted earlier yesterday. Protocols surrounding exemptions requiring the RCN to pass its approval onto NHS England, which is then recognisable for notifying the individual organisation, Ms. Collins said. She added that any declarations being sought by other organisations would be given very careful consideration excuse me, to ensure critical areas of care can continue. Matt Shaw, the hospital's chief executive, has said, "We respect the right of our staff to take part in lawful industrial action, but after exhausting all options at the moment, we have serious concerns over how we will safely staff our hospital during the strike. There is nothing more important than the safety of our patients, so we have decided no choice but to declare a business continuity incident." Following the exemptions, Mr. Shaw said the hospital was incredibly grateful to the union for helping it safely care for patients. "We fully support the right of our staff to strike, but no, this decision will not have been taken lightly," he said. Next this evening, thousands of people are gathered in Trafalgar Square on Saturday to celebrate the Muslim festival of Eid. Festivals got underway around noon with musicians, comedians and speakers taking the stage erected at the foot of Nelson's Common. The event, hosted by comedian Ali Official and model Maria Idrissi, kicked off with a reading from the Quran from Speaker Hassan Rasool. Official 30 said British Muslims often feel quite neglected from the media limelight, so have an event solely representing us right in the heart of London and Trafalgar Square, which means so much. Speaking about the timing of the event, which falls the week before the royal coronation, he said, "I think that mixed up blend of being British and being Muslim and not having to choose which side you're on is really represented here today." This year's festival comes in the wake of the violence erupting in the Muslim country of Sudan between military and militia forces on the 15th of April. The jubilant atmosphere in London was touched with sadness as performers offered prayers for Sudan. The Eid in Trafalgar Square event comes after a week of the date of Eid on the 21st of April. Eid al-Fitr, which means the Festival of Sweets, marks the end of Ramadan, a month-long period of fasting and prayer for Muslims. The day's entertainment involved music, poetry and comedy performances, as well as an electric variety of food vehicles serving up fragrant dishes from India, Somalia, Uzbekistan and more. This year's theme supported Mayor Sadiq Khan's Love for Everyone's campaign, which focuses on family and bringing communities together for the celebration. This next section of news could be very upsetting to our viewers, so do switch off if need be. Police could be missing murders because they are still failing to investigate deaths properly, nearly a decade after the blunders in catching serial killer Stephen Port, a watchdog has warned. The risk of homicides not being identified by the Metropolitan Police is way higher than it should be, with some officers admitting they are relying on luck to identify links between deaths inspectors found. History could repeat itself if officers do not grasp basic standards of investigation when faced with an unexpected or unexplained death. His Majesty's Inspectorate of Constabulary and Fire and Rescue Services said. The Watchdog's report, published on Thursday, found the force was yet to learn lessons from its culminations, literary failures in the Port case. Basic errors by a string of detectives left Port free to carry out the series of murders, as well as drug and sexually assault more than a dozen of other men. Anthony Wowgate, Gabriel Covari, Daniel Whitworth and Jack Taylor all died at the hands of Port, who drugged them with overdoses of GHB and dumped their bodies near his flat in Barking, East London, between June 2014 and September 2015. Earlier this year, a coroner identified basic investigative failings by police after inquest jurors found that fundamental failures by the police were likely to have contributed to the deaths of the three men. Watchdog inspection commissioned last year by London Deputy Mayor for Policing Crime, Sophie Linden, found the Met had not learned from its mistakes in the case and must urgently improve. Inspector Constabulary Matt Parr said the Met had not learned enough from their failings 8 years ago, and starkly what went wrong they could happen again. Describing the Port case as such an almost bewildering example of Met failings that the force must act on recommendations for improvement without delay, he added. The risk of something like that happening again has to be minimised. And just before we go, some news about the HMV store in Oxford Street. HMV is set to reopen its Oxford Street store later this year, but instead of CDs, the shelves will be set with vinyls, pop culture merchandise, headphones and other tech gear as the iconic music shop gets a retro revival. HMV shut its flagship store in 2019 after tumbling into administration before a rescue takeover by Canadian Doug Putman Sunrise Records. The company said the return to 363 Oxford Street, where it opened its first shop in 1921, was the latest sign of dramatic turnaround after its collapse, with the firm bouncing back to profit last year. Retailer will transport music lovers back to 1990s, 2000s heyday, with vinyl records, pop culture, merchandise, headphones and live performances filling the store. HMV's revival is the latest previous staple of the music world to see a resurgence following the cassette tapes and vinyl records soaring in popularity in recent years. Good to see it make an iconic return. And that is it. Stephen Morris stands by with the STV news, with the national and international news. But from everyone here, bye-bye. Major disruption for NHS services as nurses begin strike. NHS services are braced for exceptionally low staffing as nurses begin a 28-hour strike over pay. Red Bull, you need to know on this developing issues. Also this evening, almost 4,600 hospitality firms close in a year as energy bills rise. More than 12 hospitality venues have shut each day in Britain over the past year amid the pressure of soaring energy cost figures show. And bank holiday sunshine ahead, but threat of showers looms. Eastern part of the country likely is to see rain as sweet enjoys best conditions.
This is STV News with Stephen Woolrich.
Good evening. Major disruption for the NHS services as nurses have begun a strike today. It will last until 11:59 p.m. tonight. Ending just before midnight, the strike comes after a High Court judge ruled it would be unlawful for the Industrial Action Act to continue into Tuesday as originally planned. NHS workers march in central London on Monday, coinciding with a strike by Unite's members in Guy's and St Thomas's NHS Foundation Trust and the Yorkshire Ambulance Services, the union said. It follows concerns over the impact of the strike action on patient safety. Royal College of Nursing General Secretary Pat Cullen said on Sunday that the measures were in place to keep patients safe after concerns were raised about the impact of the strike action on emergency services. The union initially said it would not agree to derogations, broad areas of care where staffing is guaranteed, however, despite the industrial action, but granted some exemptions on Friday in an apparent U-turn. Great Ormond Street Hospital is among organisations where nurses have agreed to derogations after it voiced serious concern about patient safety during the walkout. The hospital said it was incredibly grateful to the RTM members for offering assurances, but took the decision not to stand down a business continuity so it was confident it could staff services during the strike. The Unite walkout follows rejection of the government's pay offer by its members. The union said that with inflation still in double figures, the offer is a substantial real terms pay cut for NHS workers. Unite members at South Central, South East Coast and West Midlands Ambulance Trust alongside workers at the Christie NHS Foundation Trust, the Christie Pathology Partnership, East Lancashire Hospitals NHS Trust and Sandwell and West Midlands NHS Trust will all take part in industrial action on May the 2nd. NHS England warned that staffing levels in some areas of the country on Monday will be exceptionally lower than on previous strike days. More than 12 hospitality venues have shut each day in Britain over the past year amid pressure of soaring energy cost figures have shown. High inflation and the cost of living crisis have resulted in the closure of 4,593 licensed hospitality premises over the year to March, according to the latest hospitality market monitor from industry experts at CGA by NIQ and ALIC Partners. Nevertheless, the latest figures indicate a slight slowdown in closures in recent months amid stronger than expected consumer spending. The new data showed that the number of hospitality venues has decreased by 4.3% since March 2022, representing in 12.6 closures each day. Restaurants suffered a particularly damaging year, with the number of licensed restaurants shrinking by 7.8% over the year. The data comes a week after Italian dining chain Prezzo revealed plans to shut 46 restaurants as a result of soaring energy and food costs, putting 810 jobs at risk. Meanwhile, there was a 2.5% decline in high street pubs over the year. Carl Chessel, CGA and NIQ's Director for Hospitality Operators and Food, said each of the 4,593 closures over the last 12 months represents a sad loss of jobs and the permanent withdrawal of a community asset. The overall figures showed that 756 venues shut in the first 3 months of 2023, although this represented a slowdown in the percent rate of closures. It was the equivalent to 8.4 closures each day. Mr. Chessel added that at least encouraging that losses have slowed in the first few months of the year, a welcome indicator that demand for hospitality remains strong. However, the recent cut in government support on energy bills alongside a hike in minimum wage rates and the ongoing tax burden now leaves thousands more fragile venues at risk of closure. Jeremy Smith, Alex Partners, managing director, said tellingly the latest study underlines the growing divide between larger and smaller operators, reflecting the varied ability to withstand the continued support headwind the sector faces. Closure rate of independent businesses, the lifeblood and entrepreneurial driving force of the sector, continues to vastly outstrip the better funded corporate and the branded operators. It highlights the need for government support to be extended, especially on energy costs, if small businesses are to survive. And finally, a warm bank holiday lies ahead for much of the UK, but the risk of showers and possible thunderstorms will linger across large parts of the country. After a chilly start, drier conditions are expected to develop across the west, while showers become concentrated across eastern areas, according to the Met Office. Not everyone will enjoy the warmer conditions, with parts of Scotland seeing a noticeable drop in temperatures as a cold front makes its way down from the north. There are some further showers in the forecast for Bank Holiday Monday, but equally some spells of sunshine, forecaster Ben Rich has said. Many of us will again feel relatively warm, particularly in the sunshine, but northern parts, particularly Scotland, will start to turn rather chilly. The west of the country will see the best of the conditions, with scattered showers, some of which could be heavier and thundery, between spells of sunshine from east of Wales to the east coast of England. Across England and Wales, we are going to see some spells of sunshine, said Mr. Rich. West Wales and the south west of England are not seeing too many showers. Northern Ireland brightens up through this afternoon with some spells of sunshine. Most of us will see temperatures between 14 and 17 degrees, but through the afternoon those temperatures will be dropping across the northern half of Scotland. That drop in temperatures means a chilly start for many on Tuesday. Excuse me. But most places will remain dry. Tuesday and Wednesday look like they will be mainly dry and bright with sunny spells across the UK, before rain and more unsettled weather could start to push from the south and west from Thursday as the nation heads towards the coronation weekend. Early indicators for Saturday suggest a mix of sunshine and showers, occasionally heavy in London, and a top temperature of around 20 degrees. Well, summer's definitely on its way. Can't wait for the summer back. And that is it this evening. I'll be back with your late news. That'll be at the later time of 10:05. But from everyone here, goodbye.